today in my workshop, I'm going to try to build a iPhone stand. See that? That's the way that works. And I built a few of these the other day for Thanksgiving gifts. My wife needs a couple more, so I thought I'd put this on tape. Let me give you a materials list. The top of this is 5 inches wide, and it is 8 inches long. So it's 5 by 8. There's 2 other parts on it you have to make. The one here is the ledge, you might say, that keeps it from sliding down. That is just a scrap piece of lumber, and it's about, I would say, 4 inches long. So that's going to be 4 by, what do you think, 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. Then you have to cut a slot there, and that allows the power cord to go up through, so you can be charging it while it's sitting there. There you go, just like that. That's about 4 inches long. Then the back part, where it sets it up, is about the same thing, about 4 inches. Yes, 4 inches by 3 inches. And I'm going to use some fence slats, just some old scrap lumber I've got, fence slats. You can buy these at Home Depot or Lowe's for under $2 a piece. They're 6 feet tall. So for that much money, think about how many of these you could build. And this is treated lumber, but after I build this, I'm going to sand it a little bit, or after I cut the material out, I'll sand it just a little bit. I'll screw them together. I will put a little bit of glue here and there, and then I'll prime them with white paint, let it sit all weekend so I can finish them next week for some other surprise gifts. They are put together with screws here and on the back here. Those are just some 1-inch screws. See, this board here is not that wide. This board here is only it's about 5/8 of an inch. It's not quite regular lumber, but it worked great, and again, they're inexpensive. So that's the material you need. Just some old scrap lumber, 5 by 8. That's 4 inches there, and that's just a more of a rectangular, doesn't have to be thick or anything. I put a slot there. That slot right there, I believe, was about 1 inch. Yep, about 1 inch. So the power cord can go up through, and then this piece in the back. And I did cut it with a little bit of an angle, so when it sits level. But theoretically, you don't even have to do that if you don't want, but I am, just to make it a nice project, just a little bit nicer. Anyway, so I'm going to cut this lumber, this lumber, this lumber out, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so I just trimmed that piece of lumber, those 2 pieces. I'm going to set this for 5 inches because I really just want these 5 inches wide, not 5.5. If you want to go, these boards, these boards are 5.5 inches wide. I guess if you wanted to, you could just go 5.5, but they're rough cut on the edge and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and trim them. And then I'm going to go with just a regular 5-inch. So that's nice and smooth here. Now I'm going to turn it around, and that's going to be a 5-inch board. Safety tip, once you're done cutting, lower that blade. Lower that blade. And then when I store this in the corner, I'll move this over and put that right over the blade area, just like that. Okay, so it doesn't have to be all safe. It's a good thing. So these are now 5 inches, and I need to cut them 8 inches this way and this way. So let me take some measurements. Okay, so I just measured this. This is actually long enough to get 3 8-inch pieces. So that works perfect. And let me raise my blade again. Always make sure that the tip of the blade is just right above the wood. You don't want to go way high like that. You want to go just just above, just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I've been cutting the material for the project. I just cut these pieces of wood. They're 4 inches by 3 inches. But I want to get that slotted angle at the top. So I set my blade at about a 45-degree angle. I was very careful with my fingers. See, I've got all fingers here and I got all fingers there, so I've been careful over the years. And I ran that through about a 45-degree angle, and that gave me the little slot there, not the slot, but the angle I need. So when this thing is setting, it sets flat. See, just like that. Anyway, so now I've got to straighten that blade up and do a real fancy cut, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. Okay, so I'm straightening my blade back up. I want it at a exact 90 degrees. This blade only angles one way, so when you pull it all the way back up, it stops. But still, I want to put a right angle on it. See, that looks pretty good right there. And just to double check, because if your blade's off, you can have all kinds of trouble later. And that's pretty good right angle right there. Okay, got to do a fancy cut here. Okay, my next cut's going to be a kind of a dangerous cut. You see the slot there on the little ledge, so you can put your iPhone or iPad or whatever you want to put on there. I need to cut that about halfway through the thickness of the lumber. That way you can slide a power cord through here. The thing is, I'm actually going to do 4 of these. I can't push it. Well, maybe I can. But the last time I pulled it by standing on that side. I'm going to go ahead and just try it like this. Let's see what it looks like. Here, you can watch. But it's still dangerous because my fingers are kind of close to the blade. But the blade is only about a half, maybe a little over a 1/4 inch above the surface. There we go. So I need to do 3 more of these, and then I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so the little ledges I'm going to put on here, there's 4 of them. I cut those 4 slots. I dug it out a little bit smoother with a chisel, and one of these is a little bit longer than the rest. I think it should be, because my wife wants to build one of these for her iPad, and the iPad is a little bit longer, a little bit taller, so I'm going to custom make one for her. Okay, let me do some sanding. Okay, let me catch you up with what I've been doing. I went ahead and cut these to quarters and sanded all 4 of these. That's the taller one for my wife. I have 4 of these all sanded, and then I sanded the back parts. Like, for instance, this one here for my wife is going to go back around like this, and then when it sits down, it's going to look like that. How do you like that? It's pretty nice, isn't it? Then when that's on there, she's going to have an iPad or a phone holder. So, let's take some measurements here. I think on the one I built before, I went up about, let's see, 3/4 of an inch. I think that was the width of that board right here. So let me see here. I want this side in the front, and I want this side down. So let's do this. I'm going to draw a line like that. then this is going to be resting right above that line. So that's going to be good. And let me do these other three the same way. I guess I'll put these on first. There we go. Let's draw a line here. Just like that. And a line here. Just like that. And a line here. Let's see, just like that. Just like that. So, now I'm going to go put this above the line right here and draw another line right here. And this one here, I'm going to draw right above it. And on this one, right above it. And on this one here, right above it. Let's see, there you go. Now, let me show you why I'm doing this. Okay, now, all four of these have that kind of a look, and I can drill 2 holes between here, knowing that when I put my screws in, it's going to be a screw here and a screw there, and a screw hole here, screw hole there, and so forth on all 4. So let me do that. I'll be right back. Okay, the next step, we're going to screw these little ledges on here. See, I know exactly where that's going to go. The slot for the power cord goes down. I'm going to center it about even where it's a little bit on each side. But then I also want to put a little bit of glue right on here. Now, I've had my glue in my pocket so it could be warming up to maybe body or room temperature. It's cold out here today. So what I'm going to do, oh, well, let's do this first. I'm sorry. Let's do this first. I want to use some 1.5-inch screws. See this? I got some black 1.5-inch screws. There we go. And I think I've got enough to complete these 4 projects. That's going to be the front, so I'm going to go ahead and start screwing those on in the back. And watch. I want it to stick up in the back just a little bit so I know where the screw holes are. I want to do these on all 4. See, I want them to stick up just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I'm going to do all 4 of these. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, again, I took these boards, screwed in screws in all of them to get them ready. I'm going to put a dab of glue here and here. And then I want to screw on these back pieces. I'm sorry. These front pieces, what I call the ledge. So I'm going to use some regular white wood glue, just some cheap glue made by Elmer's. I did a study on a couple different kind of wood glues and found out this works just as good as anything expensive. So let's dab a little bit on top of these screws. Like this. Put a little bit there, a little bit here. I don't want to put any here because you got that groove right here. See that? So what I want to do is center this between the 2 places where I drew lines, and I'm going to press down just like that. So a little bit of a tip of this actually went into the wood already. And then I'm going to hold it. I'm going to take my drill and drill in these screws. Just like that. Okay? And you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and go to a 1-inch screw on this. Maybe 1.25 inches instead of 1.5 inches. Let me change my screw system and I'll be back. Okay, so we're going to put these together now. I've got everything sanded. I drilled the holes for the screws, and I'm going to use just a 1-inch screw. It'll stick up just a little bit, just enough to grip that lumber. So let's see, let's put some glue on here. Just right over the screw hole a little bit. That way when you put that screw through, some of that glue goes up into the other wood. And let me see how this looks. So that's pretty good right there. Now let me put this screw in. Okay, and then I'm going to adjust this again. I want to make sure this is even and level. There we go. Oh, look at that. That's going to be nice. Perfect. Look at that. Let's see if that looks good. There we go. There we go. You can put it like that, or it could be done like this. So I'm going to do all 4 of these, and I'll be back in a minute. There we go. So here's so far what I have. Here's my original. Here's a small one, or a 8-inch, 8-inch, 8-inch. That's actually 8.5. It looks like a little bit longer. This would be 9 or so inches. That's a bigger one for my wife, as I mentioned. That's be for her iPad. So we got the fronts on, and so all of these will be just like that, angled, and then you put your iPad or phone just like that. Now I've got 4 pieces for the back. Let's take a look at those real fast. Let me do one of these first. There we go. Now, according to this right here, the one on the back is up 2 inches. Looks like it's 2 inches from the from what would be the top. Okay, so let's lay it like that. Lay this one like that. I'm going to measure 2 inches down, and I'm going to put this right like this. Okay, and I'm going to drill the holes and do the screws and everything else. So there's 2 inches, just like that. There you go, 2 inches, and then a little bit of like that. So I've got places to drill my 2 holes. Okay, so I have all 4 of these now, all the screws in, and I'm actually going to use a little bit longer screw. I decided to go with 1 1/8 because you have enough room here for the screw to go into the wood, whereas you didn't have a whole lot of room right here. Alright, so let's see how that looks. 2, 3, and 4. Okay, very good. So let's start with let's just start with this one right here. Let's see. Right, it's going to be on this side, so let's put some glue on this side right here. If I open the glue up, that'd help. There we go. Just a little bit of dab of glue. Here you can put a little bit more glue on it if you want. Okay, now when this is upright, the slanted part needs to go down like this. So that's going to go like this. Get them pretty even. See, I push down a little bit. Get it where I can hold it. And I'm going to do 1 screw. Let me look at the back. Oh, that looks good. And let me hold it real tightly and then do the other screw. Now I want these screws as flat as I can get it to this board, because when I paint I want to fill that in and hopefully hide those. Anyway, so there it is. Look at that. And there you go. Mine has an extra piece in the back where it can hold up if I want. You can also lay it this way, that way. You can put an iPad on there. So let's do the other 4 and I'll show you what they look like. Alright, here's the final product here. We have 4 brand new iPhone or iPad stands. There's a little bit larger one for my wife. These are all primed, ready to go. All I got to do is dry this weekend. And then I'll paint them whatever colors I want to paint them to give away next week in an early Christmas time we have coming up. There's one I made earlier. You can see how it works. And again, there's the finished product right there. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this little presentation, please subscribe and please share this with others. And have a great holiday season, and God bless you for 2020. Take care.